Much attention to the following note. The Contentious Administrative Court has just delivered a ruling that declares who among the deputies should occupy the position of President of the Assembly.
The Contentious Administrative Court has just annulled the election of the Deputy Margit Banderas Pitia as President of the Departmental Assembly for the period 2021 and 2022. The court also announced that the Deputy Escorcio Christopher is declared as President of the Duma. This was his first statement after the news was released.
This is a great decision. I want to give thanks to the Lord. He's the one that gives me strength, and I want to give thanks to my family, to my wife. After the 30th of November, I passed through a very critical situation, and give her thanks to tolerate me. We want to tell the other deputies, the next 5 deputies that didn't vote for this president, that I am the president for the whole corporation. They are welcome. We need to work for the community. All of us was elected by the community, and we want to continue and go to the development of the apartment. Right now, Providence is in a bad state because the hurricane destroyed almost Providence, so we need to work together so we can develop this department and bring up the department to a wonderful and good ending.
This journalistic house has tried to communicate with Deputy Margit Bandera to know her position in light of this news. However, it has not been possible. On the other hand, the court requests the compulsion of copies so that an investigation is carried out on the part of the Attorney General Office and Prosecutor Office against the Deputy Carlos Carvajal for the plenary session held on November 30 of 2020.
In the last hours, other active cases of COVID-19 were reported in the islands. We make an assessment of the coronavirus situation in the department.
Good evening, Lisa, and all the TV viewers. Well, yes, the COVID-19 cases in our department is going up, is growing. Actually, in the last report of the Ministry of Health, 61 new cases of COVID-19 was reported yesterday. Let's remember that this report come out every day. But in this note, we're going to show you detailed information about where these cases is and how the COVID is coming up in our islands.
In total, to date, there have been 3,532 cases in the department since last year at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic on the island. However, of these cases, 3,226 have been recovered from the virus. It is worth mentioning that 3,020 are in San Andres and 206 in New Providence. Regarding deaths, 48 have occurred in San Andres and 3 in New Providence, leaving a total of 51 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. Regarding the occupation of the intensive care unit, it is currently at 41% of its capacity. Making an assessment on the active cases to date, 96 are in San Andres and 11 in New Providence, leaving a total of 107 active cases. However, we must remember that there are also active cases that correspond to the value of cases that have not yet been added to the national report. Of these, there are 102 cases, leaving more than 200 active cases throughout the department. The most affected neighborhoods in San Andres continue to be the Fiscal Houses, San Luis, Sierra Bie, Nieval Bies, Barak, and Guinea Hen. 35 cases are without location information.
It is also worth mentioning that maybe the cases is coming up, but also the plan of vaccination is growing in our department. The last report tells us that 7,566 people already get the vaccine. In Providence, they are going with the second doses, and in San Andres, we are waiting for a new batch of vaccines. This is all information we report. Continue, Lisa, in studio.
And in other news, in the public hearing to be held by the House of Representatives in Miami, the representative for the islands, Elizabeth J. Pond, will seek to connect San Andres with Miami through a direct Spirit Airlines flight. This was announced by the Congresswoman.
Seeking to facilitate commercial relations between the islands and Miami and to guarantee once again the opportunity of employability to hundreds of islanders who have worked in the tourist cruises, the representative to the chamber, Elizabeth J. Pandias, after the announcement of the reactivation of this economic sector in the month of October, made known that she will participate as a guest at the public hearing of the Commission of Colombians were to be held next 1st of May at the Trail Theater in Miami.
As we well know, many of the products that we acquire and consume in the islands come from the United States. So through this public hearing, what I am looking for is to analyze the immigration law, but also to look for new opportunities for San Andres. One of them is precisely to seek for an air connection directly from the United States, San Andres and Panama. And for that, we have already contacted the Spirit Airlines, with which we are going to be dialoguing and looking for that new viability of approach with the United States and all the merchants of the islands.
Another of the objective of the representative of the islanders during this hearing will be to make agreements between the cruise company with offices in Miami that plan to start operation in the month of October to guarantee with them the jobs and contract of the islanders who have already worked in these type of services on board.
Una reunión.
A meeting has already been set up with the cruise lines in order to get them to come back again during this reactivation of cruise tourism. Once again, they will link all the people in Colombia, especially in San Andres, where there are more than 2,000 people who had the opportunity to be on a cruise ship and who are now unemployed.
It should be noted that the hearings was requested by the representative of Colombians aboard Juan David Vélez, who invited Representative Elizabeth J. Pang to address these issues that will contribute to the economic development of the island.
And the Human Rights Commission of the House of Representatives will summon the entities in charge of the reconstruction of the municipality of Old Providence to a political control debate.
This was announced by the representative to the chamber, Maria Jose Pizarro, during her stay on the island after listening to the community dissatisfaction regarding the reconstruction.
En esta audiencia pública se
In this public hearing, serious denouncements were made. The presence of some tents of the Navy that are located right next to the Fishermen's Cooperative that they demand to be removed. They also demand for the houses to be built and that they comply with all the regulations of seismic and anti-hurricane resistance and to take into account the roofs that are being installed on the different houses. The assessment is not pretty. It has not been possible to meet the deadline set by the government for the reconstruction, and the community has not been able to participate with all the guarantees.
The parliamentarian was emphatic in affirming that the community is asking for a dialogue between the people in charge of the reconstruction and that the Congress will work as a supervisor of this conversation.
se ha duplicado la población de...
The population of Old Providence has doubled with the floating population that has entered. As a result, we do not know what kind of impact this population influx will have and what it means in relation to the community. The community has already defined its spokespersons, and what is left is that in the next 15 days, the Congress of the Republic will summon the community of Old Providence for a space for discussion and conversation.
Let us remember that the Legal Commission of Human Rights and Hearings is composed of 15 members in the House of Representatives and 10 members in the Senate of the Republic, and this is responsible for the defense of human rights whose guarantees are violated or unknown.
And through a press release, Veolia Aguas del Archipiélago announced that it will execute work to improve the aqueduct service in the pumping station number 3, located in the sector of Sayre Bay. These works will affect the mobility of the area. The works to be executed seeks to improve provision of service in this sector of the island with the installation of a 10-inch valve that will increase the water pressure that reaches homes through the aqueduct network. And now we continue with all the sport news of our department.
Hello, here are the best sports of the islands. A group of baseball players are training for the next presentation in a tournament to be held in Miami, Florida. Under the leadership of coach Hollis Watson, training continues for the selected team that will travel to Miami to participate in baseball tournament to be held in the coming months in the United States. We talked with Hollis Jair Watson, a young talent who spoke with us with more details.
Well, we're going to Miami and play some game in a small team, so 14 and so yet. Yeah, so now we practice for we condition and we see where we can come out with batting and the lunch and throw the curveball, sinker, anything where pitcher choke and that side, we throw it. So when we go that side, we can get and bat and represent with we like. I feel happy because it's a dream when me go sleep every night. I beg God and telling God me want go Miami, me want go play aside, me want stay aside, me want get my family aside, and get some experience when we train with the player from that side. That way when we want get in a MLB team to play baseball and all that.
The dream of these young baseball players is to have the opportunity to be considered by a club in the United States and thus be able to fulfill their dreams of reaching the big leagues in the future, as stated by several players. Very soon we'll begin the remodeling of the Ginny Bay Basketball Coliseum in San Luis. The real estate company Logística de Cundinamarca will be in charge of the renovation and remodeling of the Ginny Bay Sports Arena, thanks to the alliance between the Ministry of Sports and the departmental government. By means of this inter-administrative alliance, the study and design process will be in a maximum of 45 days, and an execution of the work will be in approximately 6 to 7 months.
Tenemos unas expectativas grandes.
We have high expectations for this Coliseum, since in the next semester we may be given the opportunity to host the bubble for the Professional Basketball Championship that is currently being played in the city of Cali. We have to make some adjustment to the courts as a whole and in a specific way the wood. They have a specific wood like the one currently being used in Cali, some specification that they themselves gave. The other thing is to make 2 more locker rooms. They have already made an agreement between the ministry and a consortium.
This is the opinion of some citizens.
It's the best thing that you can do right now. Practicing the sport and creating new sport that we can sport like was on time in the island.
It is an excellent thing because we need the sport SNRs to practice whatever sport we need there today, especially in this case in basketball, and to need our kids them occupy. Without a good field and without a good things, well, we won't have a good practice. We won't even get the people occupy.
Very important, the remodeling of the venues for the practice of sports and the development of sporting events.